Alright, we have a brand new project underway here. We've got this old porch on the side of the house that is kind of falling in on itself. It might look okay in the video. It was never done per code the first time. As far as I can tell, there's no footings underneath it. They just dry stacked a few courses of block in the dirt. I think it's only 2 courses or less from what I found doing a little discovery digging. And it is a flat roof, which is rotting as we speak, I'm sure. I had to patch a couple spots up there. There used to be an old railing that went around, but the railing basically fell off. And where the posts went through the rubber roof for the railing, it basically rotted everything away. So a couple years ago, the bottom of the posts were all rotted off. So I basically nailed on cedar around the bottom just to help band-aid it as a temporary fix. So at least it looks good, but it's kind of deceiving. Everywhere I look, things are buckling and failing and sinking, and like the decking over there, every year I have to try to push that back down and nail it back in place because it buckles out of place every time. So basically this thing is moving all over the place, and we are looking to basically make it safe again. So I got one of the footings poured. I have a 12-inch sonotube over here that goes down at least 4 feet. It's a 4-foot sonotube, and I didn't cut any off. And we flared out the bottom, so the bottom of it's actually more like 16 to 18 inches. That one went great. I used my shop vac to suck all the dirt out. It's all basically sand with a couple of small rocks. Yeah, it was like an hour. I had all the dirt sucked out and sonotube pushed in. This one was tricky. There was a whole bunch of wiring and water lines and things like that for the detached buildings. So had to be extra careful on this one. Basically all that stuff is right next to the sonotube. So there's no way I could drill it. Unfortunately, all these other ones here, there's a hole here. That's a whole nother story. Of course, there's a giant rock right where the center of this footing needs to be. So looking at options to get that out, I'll probably take the skid steer and a chain and try to lift it out that way. We'll see what I come up with. But there's 4 footings that go on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those orange spots are where they go. And then there'll be 3 or 4, I believe there'll be 4 more on this side, kind of where those existing posts are, actually in those exact locations. That actually won't change. So we'll get these 4 poured and in place, and then we'll begin the demolition process of the existing deck and posts and begin the new construction. Wanted to get a few things rolling on this before I went head first into it and tore everything down, and that way we hopefully have minimal time without a porch on the side of the house and get this thing back together as quick as possible. So yeah, our current task at hand is to figure out how to get this rock out and get that next tube put in and start pouring more concrete in. I've got another 65 bags of concrete in the shop, so we got work to do. This little ASV skid steer, track loader, whatever you refer to it as, has earned its weight in gold on all these projects around the house. I mean, this is probably a, I don't know, 500 to 700 pound rock, and we just pounded a couple anchors in it and put a chain on it and basically yanked it out of this hole. There's a giant hole there. Of course, that was right where my 12-inch sonotube had to go for the porch footing. So I don't know how I would have done it without this little machine. So kind of a must-have item if you live out in the country and you like projects like this. I cut slots in the bottom of this 4-foot sonotube, so that way I'm going to bend these out just a little bit, and that'll give it the flared effect on the bottom of the hole. If you bend them out just a little bit, then you get kind of that, well, a lot of the inspectors refer to it as belling out the bottom of your hole. Gives you a larger surface area for carrying weight. So that's how we're going to achieve it with these sonotubes. So I'm just gonna push that out, and then when I put the first bag of concrete mix down there, I'm gonna pack it in there, and that'll help push this base out. We have more than enough poles on this build that I don't think we need to bell the holes, but I think it's kind of a good way to do it. So that's how we're achieving it. This is what I've been using to mix all the concrete. I looked at buying a cement mixer, like a Harbor Freight cement mixer. I looked at renting one. Just couldn't justify either. I figured the cheap Harbor Freight one would probably work, but either it would underperform or it would, I don't know. I feel like the reviews were all over the place, so I wasn't sure a cheap concrete mixer was the right angle for this approach. So this is what I've been using at the moment. Just a 3-foot heavy duty mixing, I forget what they call it. They have them at Harbor Freight for like $14 or something. I think Menards has something similar too. So been working okay. I've been using either mixing in a 5-gallon pail or in some cases mixing right in the sonotube. I do have an extension for the mixing bit. It does work both ways. I'm not sure which way I like better. Sometimes it's easier just to mix it in a pail, just dump it in. I don't know if there's an advantage time-wise on either option. So well, we got the old porch roof removed and most of the actual porch itself. I got some video footage of the whole process, not a ton. We were kind of in get it done mode, so we didn't have a lot of time to film. This is the old foundation that they had. I think it was just a bunch of hodgepodge block that they had left. I mean, it's like 12-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch. There's some 4-inch over here. I don't know how deep they go. It looks like there's some spots that are 3 courses deep, and there's other spots that might only be 2 courses. Over there, it's really hard to tell on video, but it's really crooked and heaved up. This porch was very patched together. They got a bunch of boards along the front that are all shimmed up and kind of just pieced together. Backstory behind this house is back in the late 80s, early 90s, this house actually was moved from a lot across the street over here. I don't know the whole story on why they moved it. So we're thinking the porch was already on the house somewhat, and then they moved the house, and then they tried to put footings underneath the porch after the fact. And then the theory we have is that the footings maybe weren't done correctly, and then the flat porch roof that was up above, we're thinking it was leaning backward towards the house, so it was draining backwards. So the original flat roof was rotten and not that great, so they went back and they added a second layer of roofing above the original layer to give it a little bit of slope. Needless to say, most of it was pretty hodgepodge. There's a few spots that actually weren't done terribly. It was pretty hit or miss. It definitely put up a fight getting it tore off the house because they used pole barn nails to secure it to the house. So certain parts tore right off, other parts was just an absolute battle. Yeah, they spanned these 2x6s all the way across here. Would explain why there's a 2-inch dip in the middle of the porch. So that explains a few things on how they did it. But yeah, we got our new sonotube support. Hard to tell. There's one here, one there. There's 2 more over there that are kind of covered in dirt. So we'll get it fixed up here. Little update video. I was out here well, not last night, a couple nights ago. Got all the sonotubes dug in 4 feet down or more, and got them all poured. Yeah, so there's 8 of those. They're all ready to go. Yeah, I had ended up pulling out 7 courses of block through this entire area. It was all dry stack block with no footings, no mortar. It was easy to take apart, but physically taxing. I have a giant pile of cement block back in the woods back there that I'm just stockpiling. So hopefully today we can get some posts standing and get this project rolling.